Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, on the 25th anniversary, I believe the Freeholder Board has something they would like to present this morning to conclude the event. I would ask Freeholder Cabana to come up, and I would ask Deputy Director, says Freeholder Shaw. If you could please come up here for a second, and then I would also ask Jim Leach to please come up here. And I will take this.
Jim, and Steve's going to join me. Freeholder Mastrangelo sends his regrets. He was going to do this presentation, but he had to be in Somerville at 11 o'clock, and he left 10 minutes ago. So I am just waiting for the call when he gets pulled over on 287 by a state trooper. Yeah, no, he's gonna be. Tom has a tendency to do that sometimes. All right, and I just want to say I've known Jim for many, many years. He's been a force in Jefferson Township for some 60 years. He's moved here in 1959, starting with the police department in 1967, and worked his way up to deputy chief. Russ Felter, no?
Chief.
Larry, all right.
And I wasn't the deputy freeholder director.
No.
Deputy Director Cabana wanted him demoted.
All right, hey. This would have been more fun if Tom was doing it, right? But Russ Felter had the foresight to make Jim the township administrator in 1999, a position he's held for 20 years. He did an interview with a local paper, and when asked about the three most important issues for his residents, he simply said, the roads must be passable, the garbage has to be picked up, and the water must be drinkable. He truly understood the job of local government. Jim also spoke of the love of his community, of being here, raised in Jefferson, and raising his children here. And through his efforts to preserve so many of the great open spaces in this township, he has made sure that the future, and the future for his family and so many others, has been secured in the quality of life. So on behalf of the Freeholder Board, Jim, I'd like to present you this resolution that Steve has right now, and thank you for all your efforts for here in Jefferson Township and for the people of Morris County. Thank you. Thank you. Now it's your turn, if you could.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Thank you, Chief. Okay. As Doug Cabana said, I've lived at Lake Opakon 74 years. Eric, longer than you, but you're not as old as I am. And everybody says, where are you going to go when you retire? I said, where am I going to go? After living here all these years, I went out after dark, I'd get lost. I got to stay here. But I love it here. Raised my family here. And my job as administrator, one of my favorite things was preserving open space. And for one selfish reason, not only my love of the township, but when you get done, you have something. You can work on a budget, you can work on a contract, and it's aggravating, takes a lot, and when it's done, it's over. But with open space, it's there. One thing I learned, you never do anything by yourself. Ed Hack, our engineer, was a great help. Before him, Jim Coe. Joanne Meyer was my assistant. Carol Fett in the finance office. They all worked on these grants. On this trail, I believe this was the first grant that the Lake Opakon Foundation gave, and we worked with the foundation and Jess Kitchen Murphy on that, and our road department building. But none of this stuff happens easy. It takes a lot of people. Bob Birmingham, he was like the godfather of open space in Jefferson. He used to pay, we got to get back every year what we pay in. It's Bob, sometimes you sometimes you want to wait a couple of years and get a bigger project. We almost had the biggest open space acquisition ever in Morris County, but then we wound up partnering with the federal government. So the way it worked, the state got a little more, but I'm just going to walk over here a little bit. I'm going to be real brief. All this land over here, Steve Shaw referred to this Hunter's Glen. A lot of local people refer to it as the Baker Firestone property. That was like 4 different grants. this is where we are now. This was 3 or 4 different grants. Our smallest one is what became known as Ashley Cove, which is a great story how that happened, but it's like a ½ an acre, but it's key to the weed harvesting program on the lake, was why we bought that. To talk about pressure for development, when Russ became mayor, I became the administrator, there was all the approvals ready to go on the north end of this property for 47 houses and a marina. The south end of the property, this is after Liffy Island was purchased, a family named Brady owned it, who had owned all this land on northern Lake Opakon, Consumer Coal and Ice Company. And the parents had recently died. And these guys were like in their 60s at the time. It had been owned for 150 years by the family. And they were under a lot of pressure from Toll Brothers, a developer, to sell them the property. And they come up with a cluster plan to build 24 houses and marina there. So this is going to be developed. There's no doubt about it. And people are, why are we buying land, taking it off the tax rolls? Well, let me tell you, this is the only undeveloped land on Lake Opakon. And I said to Bob Birmingham earlier today, this is really a tax rateable, even though there's no taxes paid on, because so many people come here to use this, go to restaurants, gas stations. It brings people to the marinas. So I just want to thank everybody that I worked with all these years. Barbara Murray, if you ever need a taskmaster to make sure every I is dotted and T is crossed, I mean, she's great. But very helpful, but boy, she makes sure you do it right. You guys are lucky you have her. Nothing gets by her. So if you get a chance, my wife Jill is here, my son Jim. If you get a chance to go out and walk from where we are to go circle the island and come back, it's about a 3-mile walk. And our original plan was to take this trail here down to where the old road was that connected the island. You can still see the rock bed of it. And then put another trail along the water. There's 2 more trails going to come out right up the road here, about a ½ a mile, where we have built Eagle Scout built the project, and then put a trail around the island. So I hope, Mayor, that the town continues. When I say develop this land, develop it for the passive recreation. Our recreation program in Jefferson, it wasn't for open space. We were able to acquire part of Lakeside Field, Fireman's Field, Camp Jefferson. So we've had a great partnership and with the Green Acres, and we were able to leverage a lot of Green Acres money against county money without being too big a burden on our taxpayer. So, and if I had it all to do over again, I'd still be here in Jefferson. Thank you.
One more round for Jim Leach. Jim Leach. Thank you. Congratulations, Jim.